This is Tutorial 1-3, Navigating in a Map Document in the GIS Tutorial 1 Basic Workbook. In this tutorial, you're going to learn the basics of how to zoom in, zoom out, move around the map, how to return to a full extent, how to go from previous views, and how to do fixed zoom in and zoom out, as well as a few other things. So you're going to want to continue off from your Tutorial 1-2 MXD file, and you're going to save it as Tutorial 1-3. And then click Save. Then you're going to use the Zoom In button, which is this one right here. So you're going to click that. And you're going to create a square around Florida and zoom in. Now, say I'm interested in this city right here. I can go up here and use the fixed zoom in with the arrows pointing inward, and it will do a fixed zoom in. So right now we're at 3 million. So if I click it again, or brought in, it brought me down to 2.5 million. If I do it again, down to 2 million, and now down to 1.5 million. Since it wasn't perfectly centered, I can use the pan button, which is the little hand. Then you'd want to click on the point and kind of center it. Or you could just move around the map. And there's another city right there. The zoom out, which has the arrows pointing outward, will bring us out. So we're at 2 million, 2.5, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, up to 8 million, 10 million. Now I can press the little globe here, and that will bring me to the full extent. And the full extent is the largest extent for the largest extent of all the layers that you have included in your table of contents. Now there will be many times when you zoom out accidentally, or you want to get back to one quickly that you've been to before. You can click on this blue arrow, and that will bring you to the previous extent. And if I keep clicking it, I should eventually get back down to here. And I can press the one pointing to the right, and that'll bring me to the extent that was next. So I'm going to click the previous button, and unfortunately it's not like the undo button in some word processors that has a drop down and you can choose to go back quite a few. Now it wants you to zoom out to the 48 states. Because of my monitor, I'm zoomed in much further out. Let me get rid of that magnifier. So I'm going to just zoom in to what they want, which is a view like this. Now we're going to go up to the Customize, and you want to go to Customize, Map Options, and you can see how scrolling will work in here. Down here at the bottom, the mouse wheel and continuous zoom and pan. So if I roll forward or drag up, it zooms out. Okay, so if I'm pointing at something and roll forward, I should zoom out. So and if I roll inward, I will roll in towards where I'm pointing. So sometimes using the cursor could be a nice little shortcut. One of the most useful zooming functions is the zoom to layer. And you're going to right click the CO counties. You're going to go down until you get to zoom to layer. And that brings you to the maximum extent for that single layer. Now we're going to repeat that for the streets. And as you can see, we're at the maximum extent for the streets. The next we have the magnifier window. Now this is different from the magnifier I've been using. This is a different application. So I'm going to go up to Windows and go to Magnifier. And you're going to want to click and hold the window, and you're going to see that little crosshair. I'll come up to where it's gray so it's a little bit easier to see. And when you let go, you get a zoomed in view of that area. So you're probably going to want to take this and kind of experiment with it a little bit. You can zoom in. You can check out some of the details of these small little edges, or go in and look at some of these streets where it looks like it's really cluttered. You go in and you can see that, you know, there are distinct streets. What you're going to do now is you're going to change this from 400 to 800, and you can get even closer. And then you can go in and explore some of these really condensed areas. Once you've had enough of this, you can just X out of it. Next, we're going to be looking at the overview window. So we're going to zoom out. Let's see, we're back to Colorado, and we're back to the lower 48. And what you're going to do is you're going to zoom in to Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. Now I'm just going to use the zoom in and create a box. Feel free to use whatever method that you want to. Go up to Windows and go to Overview. Now this one's a really small for me, so I'm going to increase the size of it. So I've increased the size of my window, and you can see this little box. It's a little hard to see. Let me get my magnifier out. So there's that little box right there, and if I click that and drag it to, say, New York, and you can see on the magnifier how it's kind of like grayed out, and I let it go there, it brings us right there. So if I can grab it again, bring it maybe up to a part of Alaska. Now that's using it on a very large scale. So let's go back to counties and zoom to. Let's actually go in and go to the streets. You want to right click the overview. You want to go to properties, and you want to change it from US states as the reference layer to, let's look right at Colorado streets, and then we'll go OK. So if we zoom in to, say, maybe this area right here, we see that we have our box up here, and if I move it, it's very useful for going around like a city to where you don't have to keep zooming out, and you can keep checking like certain areas where you see clusters of roads. You don't have to blindly pan around or zoom in and out. Next up is another very useful function. It's the spatial bookmarks. So I'm going to just X out of this, and I'm going to go up to bookmarks, and I'll turn on the magnifier for that. So you want to go to bookmarks, and then they already have one created for this map. So you want to hit on the 48 bookmark, and it will bring you to this. Now we're going to zoom in to Florida again. And we're going to create our own bookmark. So we're going to go back up to bookmarks, and you're going to choose create. And I'm just going to call it Florida. So now we're going to go back up to bookmarks, and we have our two. We have our continuous states and Florida. So I'm going to click on the 48. We're zoomed out. And then I'm going to go back to bookmarks and go to Florida. For the your turn, we're supposed to create some more. So we're going to go back using our bookmark. We're going to do one for California. So bookmarks, create. Click OK, bookmark, back out, and they want New York and Texas. zoom back out. And this is our last one. Now, sometimes you might create a bookmark and either you didn't zoom in enough and you just want to get rid of it. Now, you can't right click and get rid of it, so you have to go to Manage Bookmarks. And in here, you can create the order they're in. So if you're always using, say, Texas, you probably want it right up at top. You can move them up individually, one at a time, or you can send one all the way up to the top or one all the way to the bottom. You can remove a single one, or you can remove them all. You can save these, send them to someone, they can load it into theirs using this load function, and be able to have that extend. So this is really useful. In here, you can zoom to. You can do California and pan to, and it keeps the same extent, but it just goes to that area, which is another cool feature. So that's it for this video. But before you X out of here, you're going to close that. You're going to want to make sure that you save your tutorial 1-3 MXD. And that's it for this video.